All right. What's going on, Reg? How you doing, man?
Good, man. And yourself?
Good, good, good. Hope you and the family are well and safe.
We are appreciated. Hope the same for you, and
Yeah,
thank you for having me.
yes, yeah, no problem, no problem. Again, this is for the Black Acquisitions Entrepreneur Group, and I remember you told me. Well, one, we known each other since college, and you always been a man about your business. And I heard that you bought a business, and I will let you explain what that is in a second. Um, And I thought that was like awesome because a part of the mission of the group is to enlighten, educate, and expose our people about an asset class of buying companies as a way to build generational wealth. And the fact that you and your family have already done that, I wanted the folks to hear your story, your ups and downs, et cetera, et cetera. If you don't mind, do you well, let's start with what made you think about start buying a business versus starting one. We'll start with that.
Yeah. So I think my family and we're always thinking about the next opportunity, something to get us out of our regular 9 to 5, right?
Hmm.
And not from a sense like, okay, this is a hustle. It's more of what are the legitimate business opportunities that will propel us to kind of that next um, platform in life.
Hmm.
And you're right, like there are options. You can build a business from the ground up, or you can kind of jump on the backs of someone else and take
Correct.
what they've done and use your skill set to amplify that. And for us, I think both of those options were on the table. Um, but and not to say that we've gone away from building
Hmm.
businesses from the ground up. But for us right now to kind of strike while the iron's hot, we saw an opportunity to be able to build on something that was already established. And like I said, take our skill set and amplify it. So that was really the reasons why we chose to go with purchasing an already established business as opposed to starting out with building something.
Okay. Okay. That's great. I love the way you guys are thinking, especially as a family unit too.
Yeah, for
I,
sure.
I love that. I love that. What How did you decide on what type of business to actually go into?
It's
What was the
funny.
thought process around that?
So, well, really quick, we purchased a dog grooming business in Southern Maryland. At that time, it was called Laundro Mutts. We
Hmm.
ended up renaming it, rebranding it. It's now called House of Paws.
Hmm.
Um,
I
we know
like that.
I'm in business with my wife, my sister, and brother-in-law. So we have an LLC established. We're always looking for new business ventures, and to be pretty honest and plain, none of us know anything about dog grooming, right? Um, Outside of taking our dogs to get them cleaned up,
Correct, correct.
I can't say that we've had a passion for it outside of the love of animals. But we take opportunities where we can see them, and we look at what abilities and skill sets we have to be able to pump into the business, and what opportunities we have to outsource and bring in, and then elevate it from that kind of tactic, if you will.
Hmm. Hmm. Hmm.
Um, so we were looking around for different opportunities, using one of the sites that give you the option to be able to look at businesses that are for sale. Um,
Hmm.
I think you and I have had conversations about sites like that,
Yeah, yeah,
whether it's a franchise or it's a standalone business.
correct.
You know, we set ourselves up to be able to understand what we wanted to spend, um, find the location and proximity, and determining, you know, can we have access to this? Is this a digital business where we can all collectively work from home?
Hmm.
Um,
Hmm.
and I think it was my brother-in-law who stumbled upon, um, this opportunity, which was probably about 30 or 40 minutes from where they lived.
Okay.
And he brought it to the group, and we spoke it through, and it seemed like an opportunity that we could get with, um, despite having the lack of experience in
Hmm.
actually
Hmm.
grooming.
Hmm.
Um, I think the stars kind of aligned for us because at that same time we were in contact with a dog groomer in that area, and she was looking for a new opportunity. Um,
Oh, okay.
so, outside of, just pulling the opportunity together from that end, we saw an opportunity to bring someone in, give them a little more business experience from what we've experienced, and try to marry the two together. So in turn, she then became our lead groomer. So we didn't have
Mhm.
to have the experience of grooming, grooming dogs.
Yeah, 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 yeah. Absolutely.
And we brought someone else in to say, okay, you lead the day to day, and we'll manage kind of the high level business of it, the marketing, the distribution, all of that stuff. Um, to which the business before didn't have it all, right? So
Hmm.
every
Hmm.
business ends for different reasons. It might not resonate with the demographic in the area. They might be short on cash. There's hundreds of reasons.
Absolutely.
This particular instance, um, the person just didn't have support. It was a one person shop. She
Hmm.
was responsible for everything.
Everything. Hmm.
You and we saw the opportunity to come in to take, my digital experience, my wife's marketing experience, my sister's finance experience, and kind of segment those things out. Still gives us the opportunity to do what we're doing on a regular, you know, daily basis, and then pull someone in with the expertise
Hmm.
of a dog groomer to handle kind of the day-to-day
Day to
maintenance of it.
day. Yeah, yeah.
Aligned. Thankfully, my brother-in-law found that opportunity for us, and he had a big part in kind of managing the operations of it as well. He's very handy, so he helped
Hmm.
us shop, right? So we all kind of took our piece of it and pumped it into the business, and
Yeah.
here we are.
Yeah, yeah, that's really dope. I heard a lot of different things in there. One, I already spoke to the family unit aspect, but you also identified you also identify your strengths and your weaknesses, whether you guys actually verbalize them or not together. You knew you had a passion for dogs.
Right,
You knew that a lot of dogs need to be clean on occasion, right? And you saw opportunity. You had the marketing background, but you also knew the weakness was whether it was time or talent. You guys could not be there to actually do the grooming.
right,
You know what I mean?
right.
And you said that how you came across a person. It's funny how sometimes like that thing happens where a lot of times you just got to move in that direction of opportunity, and other things will just kind of fall in your lap to kind of make it all work. But that missing puzzle was a person to help you do the day to day, which gives you liberties to still do your other things, in case you want to buy another business down the road. And the thing that I think a lot of people miss about, especially with group economics, is that it's okay to share
Right.
and everything. Share the opportunity, share the risk. Everybody has a designated role. It doesn't have to be one for all type of scenario, and create a win-win, because you said you have digital marketing, your wife has marketing, your brother-in-law found the opportunity, and also it was handy because he was probably able to help save a little bit of money of trying to get some infrastructure and things like that put in place. And then his wife was strong on financial, so everyone played a particular role in that deal to make that deal happen, and that's really dope.
Yeah,
Did you guys? Oh, go ahead.
I think the group economics part of what you're talking about is the foundation of all of this, right? Like that's what we're all reading about. That's what we're all kind of working towards these days. And the communication within the group economics is what helps you thrive.
Yes.
And not only communicating, just regular day-to-day stuff. It's communicating your weaknesses, like you said.
Yeah.
Because then, I can pick up where you're falling off, because at the end of the day, this is all of our business, and we want to see it thrive. So.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And when your brother found this deal, did he use a broker, or he just do you remember how exactly he found it?
No. So I think we looked into using brokers, but in terms of saving money,
Hmm.
saving the opportunity, we're also looking at things ourselves.
Hmm. Hmm.
So
Hmm.
he literally was just browsing a site, saw the opportunity, kind of reached out, and we then started to take it on as a one-to-one conversation, got
Mm.
in touch with the owner, you know, kind of found out what her needs were within the
Mm.
business, tried to find out. Um, I mean, obviously, we had to do our due diligence and see
Correct, correct, correct.
what
Ah.
kind of profit she was yielding, all of that stuff.
Mhm,
Um,
mhm, mhm.
but yeah, I mean, it was all one to one. No brokers involved with that deal.
That's interesting because I know that every job has a purpose, and I'm not attacking brokers by any means because if you don't want to, someone like real estate agents, if you don't want to do any of the legwork or find the deal, or if you have a business and you're trying to sell it, you don't want to do any legwork. They have a purpose.
Right.
But if you are okay with doing some of the legwork, and I also say for deals, if you're trying to be, I'm gonna use the word creative with the deal structuring, you may not want to have a broker in there because a broker has one because they get paid on a percentage of the total closing of the deal, and so their motive is to get the higher price um, at all up front because that's how they get their fee. And
Right.
so it does take away of being creative in deal structuring when you do have a broker involved. But if you had the financial backing, by all means, do what you need to do.
Yeah.
But if you can strike a deal that's a little more creative, it could possibly help.
I think that's key, right? Like the flexibility of being able to structure the deal, how it works for you as well as
Hmm.
the owner. I think you'll find that there's more mutual benefits if you're talking one to one than if you're talking through someone. Um,
Yes.
you know,
Yes.
a broker, like you said, it's the middleman. It's the person that wants to be able to reap the most benefit out of the deal. Um,
Yes.
and
Yes.
it's not to belittle or demean that position because it has a purpose.
Correct.
But
Correct.
you know, I think when you're at this level, right, like you're coming into your first deal, or
Hmm.
you know, you're buying small businesses. I think it makes more sense to kind of step outside of that formality of it and give yourself the flexibility to be able to negotiate how it benefits you as well as the owner.
Correct. Absolutely. Absolutely. And speaking of structuring, do you mind speaking about that? Like, how did you guys actually structure the deal to make it happen?
Yeah, sure. So this deal, I think it was really inclusive of just equipment. It started out
Okay.
just being equipment. So, you know, X amount of dollars of dog equipment. And then after going back and forth, you know, we started to try and figure out what the owner needed to feel comfortable, and then what else we needed to be able to sustain the business that she had access to. So
Hmm.
while she didn't actually own the brick and mortar, she didn't own the building.
Hmm.
There was a lease in place. So by being able to throw more money in and being able to operate in a much quicker time frame, she was able to help us kind of transfer that lease so that we wouldn't lose that space.
Hmm.
So that was part of it. That was very important for us because, you know, having equipment without having a location
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
kind of stuck. But I think more importantly, the biggest thing that we were after, where, you know, I feel like we come in, is the database. So having her client list, um,
Mm.
and initially that wasn't a part of the deal, but
Okay. Okay. Okay.
we worked it into where we saw what would be more beneficial. And for me, in my background, data is key, right?
Hmm.
You know, being able to have data to leverage, contact people, generate leads, and I think honestly, that's what's led to our success through a pandemic.
Hmm. 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 Yeah. 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 Could you speak about that too, if you don't mind? How you guys did during the pandemic? Because I think of the other day, and I'm sorry
Yeah.
for interrupting. I posted in the group the other day about various industries that could potentially thrive during recession, and I think pet grooming or something wrong pets what was in there, one of the industries.
Yeah, it's crazy, man. I'm sitting here doing like sales forecasting and thinking about like the numbers and
Hmm.
when the states are opening up and all that stuff. And my outlook was pretty grim because I don't really know, right? Like
Yeah,
I'm
correct.
dealing on I'm dealing with another state. I don't know what their laws are, what their protocol is for, you know, dealing with COVID-19. Um, but there's something to be said about people being cooped up in the house.
Mm-hmm.
It's been a blessing because we
Mm-hmm.
were literally shut down. We started out a year ago, so we just hit a year this past May.
Okay.
Excuse me, June, and we were doing well out the gate. Our numbers exceeded where the previous owner was pretty significantly. Our percentage points were significantly higher, due to the different marketing efforts that we were doing.
Mm-hmm.
And then when April came and Maryland shut down,
Mm-hmm.
we completely shut down.
Mm.
We went from having our best month of our year to
Yeah, yeah.
zero revenue come in. And
Ouch.
it was nerve wracking because, we still have someone on salary, right? Like we have to
Yeah.
make sure that we're doing that. Our rental company, the place that we were renting our facility from,
Mm-hmm.
they weren't trying to give us any sort of reprieve. So we had to
Wow.
figure out different ways to kind of manage. And thankfully, we had done well, and we were able to sustain for the anticipated time frame of being down.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Um, but fortunately, as soon as Maryland opened back up, our doors were flooded.
Wow.
The month after, not even the month, the first 2 weeks after the state opened back up was better than any month that we had done in the previous 3 years, right? Like
Wow.
us
Wow.
and them included.
Wow.
So, I think this kind of, everybody being cooped up in quarantine,
Yeah, yeah.
same goes for dogs, right? Like,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's awesome. That's an awesome story too, that you guys actually made it through your first recession. Around your anniversary too, right? Because you said May was your anniversary day. Was that right?
yeah, most companies don't make it to their first year without a pandemic. So
Yeah, yeah. You guys made it through your first year with the pandemic
it was a blessing.
and hit record sales.
Right.
The month following. So that is really awesome. That's really awesome. I did have one last question, even though I think you may have already spoke to it,
Mm-hmm.
about how are you guys managing things post the acquisition? How do you guys make that happen?
You know what? I think from an internal team standpoint, I think, and this can probably be some sort of recommendation for anyone looking to get into it. We're managing well because we split up responsibilities.
Mm.
And honestly, I can probably be better at the different things that I'm doing because I'm not as close to it. But I feel like we all have our respective skill sets that we're good at, and all of those things have amplified our business so far. So in terms of managing it, the first thing is being able to identify who your team is, who are the people
Mm-hmm.
around you. Nobody can do it by themselves.
Correct.
So, segmenting it out. Hey, you're good at sweeping. You're good at cutting hair. You're good at
Yeah. Yeah.
doing X, Y, and Z. Do those things, and when you need support and need help, identify them to the group and be able to support that way. Um, you know, we're constantly going back and forth and looking for new opportunities. So being able to partner with local companies, just to kind of spread the word and get kind of our name out there in the community.
Mm-hmm.
Community involvement is probably one of the biggest things that has
Oh
driven
yeah. Oh
our
yeah.
sales.
Oh yeah.
But then also, I don't want to say that making it a family atmosphere is what helps us, but just being more close knit.
Yeah. Yeah. Having a
Being
good culture there.
being more
Yeah.
tolerant of others. We can work a regular 9 to 5 and be more tolerant of the people that we're making money for, and that we can be more
Yes.
tolerant of our own group, working towards a common goal. So,
Yes.
you know,
Yes. Yeah. And two things just popped in my head as you were talking, which is kudos to you guys. Going back to when you said the landlord basically wasn't trying to be flexible during this pandemic, which is like I have a business to run too, but at the same time, everybody's hurting at this moment because you shut down. But it sounded like you guys were good stewards of your cash flow
right.
to help you guys, swim a little bit further, even though you guys were shut down. So that's, of course, you know, a good lesson of just being a good steward of of the cash flow that you did receive. And then secondly, too, another thing that going back to the pandemic, you know, there's a statistic that said, like, especially for Black-owned businesses, like I think they said about 40% or so Black-owned businesses failed, shut down, as a result of the pandemic. And so by you buying this one business, it's obviously Black-owned now. So that just reinforces the fact that, of course, you guys are not one of the 40%. And if anything, you guys are probably, I don't know if there is a statistic that shows some of the businesses that are thriving, but you got at least on the other side of the table of a category that's actually going strong post pandemic.
Yeah, thankfully we are, man. You know, it's definitely a blessing. And hopefully the techniques and strategies that we put in place allow us to continue on, especially if there's a second wave that hits.
Yeah, yeah.
But, you know, I think we've kind of learned from our mistakes, even though, you know, those mistakes didn't take us down previously. I think we've kind of taken lessons from those in preparation. But to go back to the first thing that you were saying about being good stewards over your cash flow,
Mm-hmm.
I think that's a very important point, in that you know, you have to continue to save. You have to plan for the future as a business owner, and don't expect to get rich quick.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
You have to. I mean, the first year is usually never a profitable year for
Correct.
businesses, right? So,
Correct.
regardless of whether or not we are making profit, we still need to plan for the pandemic, right?
Yeah, 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 yeah.
So we've been fortunate enough to kind of make it through that first wave and planning for a second.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You know, hopefully down the line it's sustainable, regardless of what we want to do with the business. But it'll be in a good position.
Absolutely, absolutely. So my very last question, I didn't send it to you earlier, but my very last question is, what is your interest on, or what is there another business or industry that you're entertaining that you might want to get into in terms of acquiring?
Yeah, always. I mean, I think obviously we got into a dog grooming business, and
Yeah.
none of us had that experience, but you know, we all have interests
Mm-hmm.
that we want to get into. So I think the reason why we kind of stayed away from all of our interests is because they weren't aligned. So instead of doing what one person wants to do, we did what nobody wanted to do. But yeah, I mean, I think one thing that we're kind of all coming in on is real estate. Real estate
Okay.
is booming. It's been, I don't want to say a fad, because real
Yeah.
estate is the foundation of this country.
Correct. Correct.
Um, but different types of real estate, right? Like looking at land, looking at how we're going to cultivate it and own more land,
Mm-hmm.
and then actually getting into buildings and renting out properties, things like that.
Properties. Yeah. Awesome. Well, thank you again, man. If you can share the name, maybe the website of your grooming company, that
Yeah,
way, in case anyone's in that Maryland area, they can stop by and visit.
I appreciate that. Yeah, so it's House of Paws, and the site is houseofpawsmd.com. So House of Paws, Maryland, not MD as in doctor. We're in Leonardtown, Maryland, which is St. Mary's County, I believe. I could be saying that wrong, so I apologize for anybody down there. But Leonardtown, Maryland, southern tip of Maryland, close to the Virginia line. We do all kind of dogs, so you know, happy to bring your puppy by.
All right. Awesome. Well, thank you, man. Stay on. I'm gonna end the recording, but thank you, man, for your time, for sharing your story, man. Appreciate you.
Appreciate it. Thanks for having me.